Oh my God, guys! In a stacked Raw with a rock crowd post Survivor Series, we have witnessed not one but two surprises tonight, and of what appears to be the very end of the New Day as we know it. What a show, guys! I mainly wanted to talk about two things in this video. First, the New Day breakup, then the return of Drew McIntyre, who we have not seen since Hell in a Cell after being beaten by CM Punk, comes out to get his vengeance, seems on those who teamed with Punk at Survivor Series, took out Jey Uso backstage as they didn't know, as Sammy was adamant that Seth was the one who did it, and then he claymored Seth at the very he claymored Sammy, at the very end of the show. What a show! The New Day, let's just start with that. The New Day, I gotta say, like the way they've been teasing this the last several weeks, the last couple of months, really, it really seemed as though, Xavier was gonna be the one to turn heel on Kofi Kingston. And it would have been a swerve if it had been the other way around. But the way that they perfected this 10-year anniversary was just something that I don't think anyone expected to happen. Xavier and Kofi comes out, the crowd are chanting New Day. Adam Pearce in the ring with them. He says New Day rocks. The crowd's really chanting New Day rocks. They come in the ring. They're thanking the fans. They're thanking them for all the 10 years they've had together, for all the accomplishments that they've made. They're really like getting fired up with the fans, thanking them for everything that they've done, thanking them for how far they've come. And then Xavier starts to say, what I'm about to say, it's not, for to you guys, but it's something that we need to do. Kobe is like, we we've been we've been talking, and basically from all the bickering and stuff that they've had the last several weeks, it seemed as though he was going to say that they decided they were going to go their separate ways. But just before he could say that, out comes Big E. Now, before he came out and they said Big E's name, Xavier's like, we miss him too, we miss him too. Out comes Big E. Now, granted, he has been on some of the post shows, on some of the premium live events. He has been on some of the post panels. But this is the first time he's been on Raw or SmackDown. For some reason, Wade Barrett said 4 years, but it's really been 2 years because he got injured uh, in early 2022. So this was the first time in about 2 years that we've seen him on either show, and he got a thunderous reaction. He got a thunderous reaction from the crowd. The crowd was happy to see him back, saying, "Welcome back, Big E." He comes in the ring. He talks about all the things that he's done with them. He mentioned about what Kobe, how he was there, how Kobe and Xavier were there when he got his neck, when he was injured with his neck, how he was able to hold his Kobe's son's hand when him and his wife, he birthed him, and even, just all the good times they've had together, all the times that they've had, you know, together, and he didn't want to see it end like this. He said until he was medically cleared that he was going to serve as their manager, that he was going to be there every week to make sure, to keep them together and such. And just as he said this, Xavier said, "Now you want to come back? Now you want to come back?" And no, and then he, tells him, you know, that you left us, basically. And Big E is like, "What are you talking about? Like, I broke my neck. Like, I've been, I had to get surgery." And Kobe's like, "It doesn't, you broke your neck, so what?" Stone Cold, Edge, who else did he say? Stone Cold, Edge. These guys They broke their necks and they came back. They broke their necks and they came back. All these, guys, they came back. And then Xavier was like, you know, and you could have broke you could have came you could have come back broken neck or not. It was always New Day above everything else. But now you put your other side of your life, you put your new girlfriend, you put all these things in front of us instead of being with us. And Xavier's just like I tore my Achilles and I had to actually get surgery, because of his neck injury he didn't require surgery, but he said I actually had to get surgery and I was out for 9 months, and yet you know I did that for you. And they were basically implying, that Biggie wasn't there, that he wasn't, he hadn't been there for them. And Biggie is like, what are you guys talking about? And Kofi's just like, you know, these guys are just basically um, saying all types of things to Biggie, like, you know, you don't need to be here. Like Xavier really hit it hard when he said, let's be honest here. You're never coming back. Like you're never coming back. Let's stop lying to the. Let's stop hiding from these people. Hiding these people. Like you're never gonna be medically cleared. And just the heartbreak of the crowd when he said that. And then for them to just to tell him to get out of the ring, to get out of there. Um, these guys just throw him out. And he's like, "This is it. Like this is it. Like you guys just throw me out. Like this is it." And you know, they just kick him to the curb, and then he walks away, and then they shake each other's hands and say, "It's just me and you now." And I mean, this was insane because number one, um, there were some reports out there that Biggie would show up for the reunion, and you start to wonder if he didn't come, what was going to happen, because it seemed like they were going to split, but they were going to do it in a peaceful way, not like in the typical one turns on the other. But when Big E came out, it almost gave them a reason to turn their backs on him, and initially to both turn heel together, which is crazy when you think about it because they pretty much done it all as a team. So if they had broken up, because Biggie even pointed out the fact that Kofi Kingston, prior to them forming the New Day, he was contemplating retirement, and he even said that him and Xavier was on the verge of being fired. So in a lot of ways, the New Day definitely is what saved all three guys, because that was pretty much the year where Kobe really wasn't doing much, and Xavier was still a rookie at the time, at least in WWE. I mean, he had been wrestling prior to that, in TNA. He had a pretty good stint in TNA, so he wasn't like a new wrestler or anything, but he was just new in terms of WWE at the time. Big E was actually, uh, he came in as the bodyguard, I guess you could say, of Dolph Ziggler when he first got called up to the main roster. And when they split, eventually he won the IC title in 2014, earlier that year, before losing it to Wade Barrett at Extreme Rules in 2014. So he was doing pretty good for himself, but once they formed the team, that's what really got him going. And so, just to see how this unfolded. I don't think anyone could have seen this happening. I think it was well executed, but I also think it was really unexpected, how they did this. I don't think a lot of people expected for it to end like this. I don't think a lot of people expected for them to split away from Big E. So it was definitely completely unexpected how they booked this. And I got to give prompts to all three guys. But at the same time, it's just interesting, though, because it's like, I would have much rather. I mean, would they have been good singles, especially with the heat they had last week? I mean, with the way they were talking with each other last week, it definitely seemed like one was going to turn on the other. Because keep in mind, they didn't really start teasing this until a little bit after Karrion Cross kept trying to convince Xavier to break away from Kobe, saying Kobe only cares about himself, and it kind of like creeped into Xavier's head, especially with them losing and stuff. And last week they lost to Akira Tozawa and Otis of all people, and so that really stirred the pot with them. But it really like started not long after the stuff Karrion Cross was saying in Xavier's head, and not to mention when Odyssey Jones was briefly in WWE before he got fired. Not even going to get into all of that, but when he was briefly in WWE, he wasn't happy that he sent them there to team with them. So literally, I mean, it was just insane how things played out, and but they've been telling this story for a while, and the fact that they kicked Big E out, what appears to be the end of the New Day, really did not expect this to be the case. I mean, if they're heels now, you can't still come out playing. I mean, even though they were heels, they didn't start off as heels in 2014, but they turned heel in 2015, and they stayed heels up until like 2016, and then they turned baby faces again. Um, but you gotta wonder, like, are they gonna have new theme music? Like, what's the deal here? Because with the way that they just kind of kick Biggie out like this, it's like, man, can they really come back from this? And elsewhere on the show, you had the heat between, you know, CM Punk and Seth Rollins unfold, something they've been telling really since before CM Punk even got hurt earlier this year. But, at SummerSlam, when Seth Rollins was a special guest referee for his match with Drew McIntyre, and he hit him with the GTS, he was really going to go after Punk then, but he got sidetracked with his feud with Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed took him out the Raw after SummerSlam when he hit him with like those 10 tsunamis. And so that kind of put him in a side feud with him, where he couldn't really focus on CM Punk. And it looked like CM Punk was going to go out to Gunther, but his feud with Drew wasn't over quite yet. Well, actually, no, that was when he beat. See, Drew McIntyre won that match, but in their second match, when CM Punk beat Drew in the strap match that they had the very next month at which show was that? I can't think of it right now. It was just before Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell was in October. Was it what show was that they had before Hell in a Cell? It's just not coming to me at the moment, but I know CM Punk did win the strap match they had, and Drew McIntyre took him out on the Raw after that when it seemed like he was going to try to go out to Gunther for the title. But man, I mean, the tension with these guys continues, and Sami Zayn and Seth went at it in the main event, and then Drew McIntyre took him out, so Drew McIntyre's back, but instead of looking at CM Punk now, he's looking at the guys who team with him, which he already had an issue with the bloodline anyway. But now he's got his eyes set on these guys. Since his feud with CM Punk, which lasted really from the start of this year all the way up until Hell in a Cell. Now he's shifted his focus on these guys. You got a possible face turn with Dominic going on, with the thing with him and Finn Balor. You have, on the women's side of things, Dakota Kai, she advanced in the IC title in the first round, which is pretty good for her, for the women's IC title. And then you got the women's tag, and then you got the Raquel and Liv, the whole, the feud with Rhea still continuing. Raquel actually took out her eye bone, orbital bone, attacked it with Rhea. So I mean, this was a crazy Raw. But the main two things I want to talk about is the New Day segment, because I mean this just marked the end of the thing, and again the return of Drew McIntyre at the end of the show. The CM Punk and Seth match was definitely, the CM Punk and Seth segment was definitely interesting, but the return Drew McIntyre at the end was definitely something to see with him being gone for really a month and a half at this point. Because no one's seen him since Hell in a Cell. When he lost this. Of course, in real life, he just went to spend some time with family. But after he lost to CM Punk in their last match, you didn't really see him. Um, I'm trying to think of what that show was that Punk won because it was he basically had a trilogy. I'm trying to think of what that show was that Punk actually won after oh, was it Bash in Berlin? Yeah, that's what it was. It was Bash in Berlin. I was trying to remember. So it was Bash in Berlin that they did that Extreme Rules match. I mean, no, they did the strap match, and that's when CM Punk won. And then they had their match at Hell in a Cell, which put an end to it. But yeah, it was Bash in Berlin that they did the Extreme Rules match. Um, I don't know. I keep saying Extreme Strap match. So yeah, man. I mean, this was just quite the show. Um, just a really really good show. I definitely just want to make that point here. Um, I mean, just interesting to see where things go with Kobe and Xavier. I did not see that coming at all. How they, especially you think about everything that's happened with the group the past 10 years. Um, how these guys were initially getting booed and then they turned heel and got over. Um, you know, ever them winning the tag titles as many times as they did. Becoming the longest reigning tag champs for about 480 something days before that reign got beaten by the Usos. Last year they actually took that reign from them. So yeah, this is definitely something to see here. But hey, um, very very interesting. So sign of Red Master Flex. Like, comment, subscribe. Talk to you guys another day. Peace.